say that you're a Satanist?
Don't know. If I believe in nature, I guess I am.
Hi everyone, this is Rob Halford, the painkiller from Judas Priest, and you're watching Tales from the Pit.
Here's to something really interesting. You will notice that Odorous is only what you would call
half a man.
Half endowed.
I am not no part man, but yes, it is indeed true. The Charlotte, North Carolina Police Department stole my penis, but it is starting to grow back now. You like to touch that? Yeah.
The scary thing
you like this?
The scary thing is that his penis is growing a new Odorous.
Yeah, so there'll be two of me running around really soon.
Did you know that you could put a light bulb, the big end of a light bulb, in a woman's vagina? You can do that.
I didn't know that. But...
Well, it's not every woman's vagina, but there's at least one woman out there whose vagina you could put a big
Have you seen
light
it
bulb.
done before? Or?
Done it.
At every thrash show in the world. Hang on. Mosh, dude, you got some fucking kid. Hey, man, let's do some slamming, man. Fucking Testament, man.
Yeah, I jack off all the time, man. You have to jack off. You know, if you're not jacking off, at least fuck. If you ain't fucking, then at least be working out so you can beat someone up and take their fuck. That's my idea of what's going on in the world.
There's several bands out there that have started off heavy and metal up your ass and all this bullshit, and now they're fucking doing Seeger songs, and I mean, what kind of fucking crap is that, man? Okay, I'm looking you right in the face now. Okay, that's crap. Yeah, wake the fuck up, knock the powder out of your nose, get the fucking plugs out of your ass, and fucking put out some real metal. Okay, you guys have been fucking bought, paid for, and fucked in the ass. Okay.
I remember Gary beat somebody over the head with a guitar. You guys split the guy's head open, and he went to the hospital. Came back and went, you know, after we saw him after the show, he's like, "Yeah, you remember me, man? You hit me in the head with the guitar, dude. You remember me, man? Fuck, dude. Sign my shirt." Or whatever. It's like, whoa, dude, your skull's open.
Hey, David, if we get bitches in here, you have to sing in there so I can watch. I want to see the back of some girl's head going.
I gotta get somebody sleazy to do that.
Ooh. What?
Right now, the vibe I got with the old lady is nobody looking.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I told her that the room was already sealed and everything. She's like, okay, but only if no one can see.
We'll be sitting there in that little drum room with a video camera.
I want an extra mic right by where she's slopping up the cock, you know, so you can hear all that.
Do you think that with your lyrics that you might go to hell for them if there is a heaven or hell?
Well, if I do, I'll still be blaspheming God, and I'll be helping Satan torment other souls.
Well, yeah, I guess if there was a heaven and hell, I'd rather go to hell because heaven just seems kind of gay.
I like this magazine video show.
Right, because it's the real thing.
I
It really is. It's really cool. Honestly.
you could feel the energy from us and our attitudes, and the music was driving these two dudes to beat the shit out of each other. And sure enough, as soon as the song stopped, they stopped fighting.
Vio-Lence is just pure thrash.
Listen to them makes you want to go chill. Just make you want to kill someone.
They were cool and they were cocky and they had all the ingredients you needed.
And I see him laying on the ground and I'm just like, get up, fag, and I start kicking him.
We were a dysfunctional family, man.
We were disgruntled fucking punks, and that was just part of our fucking nature.
You could probably survive like that for one tour. I'd say after that, someone would die.
Violence fucking rules! Yeah!
I mean, these guys were more of a gang.
You pick a name like Vio-Lence, you better be brutal, and they definitely more than lived up to their name.
San Francisco, California. The city by the bay has always been known for its rich cultural foundations and famous landmarks. In the 1960s, San Francisco, considered the epicenter of the peace and love movement, was home to well-known performers such as the Grateful Dead, Santana, and Jefferson Airplane. The creative energy that inspired them took on an entirely different form in the early 80s, giving birth to a popular new style of music, which became known as Bay Area thrash. A sound that was created, defined, and largely dominated by younger up-and-coming bands such as Metallica, Exodus, and Possessed. Their pioneering innovations and contributions to this new sound inspired a whole generation of bands that followed, and whose intensity helped solidify the rich and uncompromising legacy of thrash metal on the West Coast. One of the most well-known bands from this next generation was the controversial and infamous hometown ragers, known as Vio-Lence. In 1985, drummer Perry Strickland befriended local bass player Ed Billy in high school, when Perry relocated from South San Francisco to Dublin, California.
We were kind of inseparable. I used to pick him up to go to school in the morning, and we'd go to school, and we'd cause shit in school, then we'd go jam after that. And
Ed introduced Perry to some of his favorite bands like Metallica, Venom, and Merciful Fate. Strickland took a strong liking to the groups he was being exposed to, and after a while they decided to start jamming together with close friends of Ed's, Jerry Birr on vocals and Troy Phill on guitar. Originally calling themselves Death Penalty, they began playing house parties performing signature songs such as Torture and Pain, Dealer of Death, Tormentor, and Gutter Slut. Shortly after, Ed Billy asked one of his students in his guitar class, Phill Demmel, to jam with Death Penalty.
You know, there was a select few of metalheads at the high school. You know, I was one of the few guys, you know, I was a jock, so I was cool with the jocks. But then I kind of had the hair and I was in the metal, you know, and all the burnouts accepted me, and, you know, and so I was just kind of, you know, everybody wouldn't claim me as being part of their clique, but, you know, I was cool with everybody, so I was just kind of the outsider.
He was probably the best groomed out of all of us, for sure. He had the car.
We were from the bad side of the tracks. Phill was from the good side of the tracks, and we kind of pulled him over.
You know, at the time, I think we were a little more spastic, you know, without Phill. I think we lacked a little more, a little less direction, and then when Phill showed up, we were able to do a little bit better arranging.
Demmel shared Troy Phill's enthusiasm for bands with dual guitar teams that harness a distinct style when it came to structured guitar solos. In June of 1985, upon Perry Strickland's suggestion, Death Penalty changed their name to a more fitting moniker that would remain throughout their entire career: Vio-Lence.
we'd hit parties and we'd throw their kegs over the fence and steal kegs. Everywhere we went, we stole a keg of beer and got in a fight or something, and we ended up beating up the party and jumping over the fence and diving through Phil's window and his car, and he was a getaway driver.
I mean, these guys were more of a gang. And I'm not gonna, you know, I use the term loosely because, you know, back in Dublin, you know, gang in Dublin, whatever. But I mean, it was more, you know, they'd go to parties and if somebody look at them sideways, then they're getting their ass kicked.
Phill contributed heavily to the band, becoming their primary lyricist and songwriter, adding his love of fast, heavy riffing to their songs. Within his initial months as a member of the band, Phill Demmel slowly was becoming the driving force behind Vio-Lence. Not long after, bass player Ed Billy departed, bound for college in Arizona.
Went to a school called UTI in Arizona, and that's when I quit. And I think Deen Dell, that's when he came in.
Deen we had known from Terminal Shock.
I knew Troy from junior high school. I went to grade school with, or not grade school, but junior high school with Troy and Phill in Dublin. And ended up over at Troy's house one day, and those guys were practicing in Troy's living room.
The coolest guy on the planet. He's always been the same.
Crazy, you know, metal kid for sure. You know, Deen was metal.
You know, with his black, you know, trench coat, and thought he was real cool. Came in all rock star style and then left.
Always had the vest on and flannel, you know, and the cool rings, and always smoked the dope.
And we thought, wow, that guy's pretty cool, man. They're really out there. So,
you know, Deen was cool. We loved Deen.
So they didn't have a bass player. So I ended up actually kind of coming back the next week or something with my axe, and I think I just kind of, I don't even know if I got offered. I just kind of filled in, and that's what happened. A couple weeks later, we ended up playing a party out in the canyon.
I think our first real break was since we knew the Legacy guys.
Well, me being a Dublin boy, that everybody knows, the boys are from Dublin. Phill and I actually played in our very first band together, Metal Warrior, back in the day.
Steve was always telling us, you know, hey, just get 6-7 songs together, and you guys can open up the show. So, with that in mind, you know, that's how Vio-Lence got started.
You know, back in the day, we'd pump out flyers, little handmade scribble flyers, and go posting them everywhere from the AM, PM to telephone poles, just trying to get everybody out there. We had a pretty good East Bay draw that night.
The Ruthie shows, you know, they always had the line going up halfway up the block, so it's like, yes, you know.
In the summer of 1986, with his family relocating to the East Coast, frustrated with the local music scene in San Francisco, Jerry Birr was the next member to depart.
And nothing against the band members or anything like that, or the music, or even the fans I would run for, because I love them to death, you know. But when it comes time that you need to get your shit together, you had to do what you had to do.
So he had left, and Deen had this buddy who'd always come down and sit in our studio and drink his Smirnoff, and he had his Smirnoff and his orange juice, and he'd had this stupid fucking laugh.
Yeah, I auditioned for the band. I went to audition for the band, and I rewrote 3 of their lyrics because the lyrics were just atrocious. Like a 2-year-old wrote them.
I remember Perry being just going, who the fuck does this guy think he is?
Sean disregarded the original lyrics, choosing to rewrite them with his more demented and psychotic approach. This move would prove to be the added edge that would make Sean the perfect frontman for Vio-Lence. Vio-Lence then recorded their newly re-energized songs for their first demo at Prairie Sun Studios in Cotati, California. The demo, receiving numerous good reviews, was heavily traded and spread like wildfire throughout the metal underground.
And we used to sell a lot of their demos at the Record Vault. We sold a shitload of Vio-Lence, Legacy, Forbidden Evil, Heathen, Control, all the local heaviest demos. And Vio-Lence was like one of the best sellers, and it was pretty amazing. And it blew me away when I Finally got to see him, I think, at Ruthie's.
Joey Huston, a good friend of the band, came on as manager for Vio-Lence. With a business knowledge and a natural ability to his benefit, Joey would serve as an integral part in getting the band more shows and distributing their demo.
There's a fair amount of bands that were going over really well out of here in the Bay Area, and I felt pretty strongly that we had a good shot, and you know, what they were doing to me was like what I wanted to hear. And I wanted to make sure that I was a part of getting it to other people to hear, and you know, giving people a chance to see what these guys were all about.
In 1987, Vio-Lence made another lineup change when Troy Fua was let go and Robb Flynn, founder and guitar player of rival band Forbidden Evil, was asked to step in.
We were jamming in Fremont, and I think Vio-Lence started practicing right around the corner from us or something like that.
We would go over and watch Forbidden. You know, we were all pretty good friends.
We all kind of, our guitar player's really good, you know.
I'll just speak for myself. I remember just thinking that we needed another person who wrote music really well that can contribute, like say Phill was writing, you know, and it seemed like Phill was writing a majority of the things on the Eternal Nightmare record.
Well, I kind of knew it was coming. It was we had done a show at Rockin' Broadway with Laws Rocket, and we were kind of standing around signing some flyers for a bunch of people, and I kind of noticed that Robb Flynn was kind of in the circle with us, standing there, and I had even made a gesture to Robb that I was about to sign a Vio-Lence flyer, and I kind of turned over, and he kind of looked at me strange, like he didn't know what I was talking about, but I think he did.
They had this unbelievable amount of charisma that, you know, just coming off the stage, and you know, Deen was just this great, you know, presence, and I was very attracted to it, and I guess they were contemplating doing something with Troy, and you know, they came to me and they were like, hey, what do you think about jamming?
Russ calls me up and goes, you better get down here to the studio. And I get to the studio and he's like, Rob's got something to tell you guys. And Rob's like, I decided to leave the band. I'm going to join Vio-Lence. I'm like, oh, whoa. And I was, at the time, I was just shocked as hell.
And never once did I have any animosity towards them. I think their first show that they did with Robb at the Stone, I think I was even doing the lights for him. Phill was borrowing my cabinets and all that, so there really was no hard feelings about it. It was a decision that they were going to make.
It just really was a bash to the delicate ego of a 16-year-old kid at that time. I was like, no fucking way. I said some things I really didn't mean. But I think in the end, I always felt like he was the right guy for that job, and he was perfect for it.
Robb was a welcome addition to the band and fit in perfectly. His chemistry with Phill on stage was undeniable and inspired explosive performances as this guitar duo helped take the band to the next level in their pursuit of conquering Bay Area thrash. This was a wild and insane time for the band. They'd evolved from playing infamous house parties to destroying local clubs such as the Omni, the Stone, and Ruthie's Inn, becoming one of the best live bands in the Bay Area of the day. Vio-Lence's popularity was quickly gaining momentum, and their reputation for having consistent, energetic shows was intensifying.
Well, one of the first things I know that stood out was Vio-Lence's live show, and the fact that they never stood still, and there was just fucking chaos and mayhem all over the place.
They had more of a pit on the stage than they did out on the audience. They're running this is pre-cordless technology. They'd run around on stage over and over again, thrash around.
Literally after every song, they had to stop and untangle all the cables. Fucking crazy.
Definitely, the goal is to go out there and just tear it up.
We're getting killer support slots. We're opening for Exodus.
I know we did the Stone together a couple of times. But they were the only band out there that was like as aggressive as us, and were able to do shows with us without the fans, the crowd getting bored with it after half an hour.
Deen Dell's
knee just pretty much broke on stage while they were playing. I remember that.
Actually, I had some fucking wise idea. I don't know. We used to drag this wheelchair along and with us, and I used to come out on a wheelchair and before we played Paraplegic, which was always one of my favorite songs. And for some reason that night fucking kind of doomed me.
I think it was fucking karma, frankly. I think that was like right then and there, I was like, dude, this song does not need to be played. Like, this is fucking, there's something bad about this.
Some kid came up and did a stage dive, and the mic stand just clipped my kneecap and went, bam!
He spun around and it looked like it was part of the show. He just kind of dropped to his knee and he just kind of stopped, and literally I just remember his face kind of turned being ghost white.
You know, he's playing and he's acting like a fucking paraplegic and you know, I'm sitting there, I look down, I see him laying on the ground and I'm just like, get up, fag, and I start kicking him. Like, you know, like, what the fuck are you doing? And I look down and, you know, I'm all, oh, he's like, dude.
And I remember looking down at Dee's knee and it had become dislocated from the joint. So he had like this double knee floating there, and he was still kind of wriggling in this little Angus Young type of movement, still playing until he couldn't handle it anymore.
The funny thing, the ironic thing is that they used the wheelchair to cart him off the stage with, which was classic. The irony of that, you know.
And so they had to cut their set short and ran into a cover of the Batman theme.
And then just kind of closing the curtains after that and thinking, wow, that was it? And then thinking, how are we going to top that?
With Vio-Lence receiving a lot of record label interest, the band soon approached Debbie Abono, one of the more well-connected and respected managers in the Bay Area metal scene, to assist Joey in securing a record contract and guide their career.
I might as well say it because it happened this way. Vio-Lence and Forbidden basically both approached me at the same time. And being that they were pretty much arch rivals at that time, because one band member had come from Forbidden and gone to Vio-Lence and things like that. So they both approached me and wanted me to manage them. And I said, sure. And then I said, sure, the next day. To the other one, it was like, ooh, what did I do? I've got both of them.
That was our most heated rivalry right there, us and Forbidden.
There was definitely competition at that time because of those circumstances all thrown into one thing. And the fact that we had Debbie Abono managing us, and then they had Debbie Abono managing them, and then it was like, you know, we felt like, well, how are you going to do it all at one time? It was really small-minded.
You know, it was kind of like a race to see who could get signed, a race to who could get demos, a race to get on whatever, you know, good show was coming. So, you know, in some ways it was probably, you know, it was negative in the sense that, like, you know, it was like former friends kind of, you know, now at odds with each other. But I think in another sense it kind of like spurned a healthy competition.
I knew Debbie from way before. I mean, she was always, you know, mom to everybody. I mean, especially here at Ruthie's. I mean, she did Possessed.
Because I'd known of her from Possessed. And, you know, everybody was always talking about, oh yeah, Debbie Abono, she's like this, you know, 55-year-old lady managing Possessed. You know, it's like, whoa.
God bless Debbie Abono. You know, she did more, as an individual, she probably did more for the Bay Area scene on a whole than anybody did. You know, everybody owes Debbie something.
I have nothing but respect for that lady. You know, I love her dearly.
It was they were part of my life. They were part of my family. And I cared about them, and I sure as heck wanted them to do the things that were right and get as far as they possibly could. I thought they had a lot of talent, and I thought that that was, you know, really important for them to be able to show it as much as possible.
Mechanic Records was a newly established label run by Steve Sinclair, who was a former executive from Combat Records. Steve was one of Debbie's contacts and had expressed a strong interest in signing Vio-Lence to his label's roster. With a record contract signed, Vio-Lence took their songs into the studio.
We recorded the album down in LA in Music Grinder Studios, and, you know, once again, road trip, you know, don't know what the hell we're doing, but we're in this nice studio in Hollywood, and
let's get fucked up.
We were recording music and digging it.
It was awesome. You know, we were just ecstatic. You know, we're just walking on cloud nine. We're in Hollywood, staying there, and right on Sunset Strip, and just like fucking, you know, it was a good time.
In 1988, Mechanic released their debut Eternal Nightmare to critical acclaim with fans and the press alike.
I remember being at parties here in San Francisco and people playing the tape, you know, because you had tapes then. And it was just kind of cool. And people were hot on it and people liked it. And everywhere you went, you were welcome to the party. And
I remember people being really into it. You know, people were super stoked. You know, you always kind of get those like, oh, the demo sounded like, you know, whatever. But most people agreed just like unanimously that the record was kick-ass.
Went home, threw that thing in, and it just changed everything metal for me, period.
You know, that Eternal Nightmare album is still as fundamentally heavy today as it was 15 years ago.
They are the #1 thrash band of all time for me, even above Slayer. I mean, Eternal Nightmare tops Rain and Blood, which is hard to believe for a lot of people, but to me, there's no album that's better than Eternal Nightmare. It just fucking kills.
It's still on a level of shit that's coming out these days, you know. Nobody can touch Eternal Nightmare.
Further interest in Vio-Lence was manifested through a revolutionary promotional marketing campaign by Mechanic.
Oh, it was amazing. They had this big ad campaign, and pretty much every metal magazine that came out for a couple months there had the ad on the back for the album and stuff.
You know, you would have thought like it was the second coming of Led Zeppelin if you were, you know, opening up the magazines and full-page ads everywhere and free demos. And
in July of that year, Vio-Lence hit the road in support of Bay Area fellow thrashers Testament on their New Order tour.
You know, we had a tour at the time. We had the opportunity to take Vio-Lence out with us. We got to take them actually out on their first American tour.
here's a local act hitting the road to headline, and they bring another band from their same area with them. And we were just like, it was like brothers on the road.
You know, was the best of times, was the worst of times.
You know, you're going on your first tour, you're recording your first record, you're getting your first groupie, you're getting your first tour van, you know, like everything was just, you know, exciting and fun. And
Testament had a nice boss, and that was always nice, and always managed to weasel my way upon it every opportunity given. And we toured in a van, and our equipment was in the van, we were in the van. We probably had 2 hotel rooms, Motel 6 rooms, and that's what we traveled in, that's what we toured in. And you could probably survive like that for 1 tour. I'd say after that, someone would die.
Probably, I think it was 5 of us in the band, Debbie Abono, Joey Huston, all of our gear in like a 15-passenger van.
45 minutes of just great shows and playing and having the best time you can imagine, and then 23 hours and 15 minutes of just the worst bullshit you could imagine. And fun at the same time.
Sean was definitely more aligned with Perry at the time, kind of in that, you know, you're the bottom of the totem pole and I'm going to let you know it too, kind of a vibe. So those two would kind of gang up, you know, and do their trip together. You know, and I accepted the hazing. You know, I knew right away, like coming in as the new guy, where they were, like I was going to get some hazing, and I took it for what it was.
Always turmoil on the band. we were a dysfunctional family, man.
Biggest functional family that I've ever been a part of.
It was always Perry and Sean. Sean was always the jerky, and Perry was always his audience. So it was like these guys were inseparable, and it was always me, Phill, and Robb in one room, and Sean and Perry in another room, and no one ever wanted to, you know, I remember there was a couple times we didn't have enough money to have 2 rooms, and I think everybody ended up taking the option of sleeping in the van rather than sleeping in the room with Sean and Perry.
It was true. Of course, at first, when we first went out on the road, nobody wanted to, you know, I mean, sleep with her. You know, I don't want to be in that room. And pretty soon, little by little, they started coming over, and pretty soon I had them all, because I guess Perry and Sean were just so out of hand and so loud that nobody could sleep. So it got to the point that everybody wanted to be with me in my room, you know, so they could get some sleep, which I understood.
I probably am guilty of just never sleeping and driving everybody crazy, and they would all sleep. I'd wake them up. I'd have a mallet on the wall. You know, it was tough, man. You know, and you know, I had a hard time dealing with it, and I'm sure, you know, the rest of them did too.
While the band was excited to be hitting the road across the nation, they took full advantage of the decadence, chaos, and mayhem that touring had to offer.
I mean, I could deal with Perry. It wasn't bothering me much, but everyone else, it was just like, he was the scourge of the band. I remember Dave Westman walked across his pillow with his bare feet. So I think Perry jumped down, or no, he walked across his sheets with his bare feet or some shit. So Perry jumped down with his bare ass on Dave's pillow and started dragging his asshole across his pillow.
Yeah, I mean, we were vicious on each other, man. It was merciless, you know.
I think you should have spent a couple years in one of these motherfuckers during that whole time.
No.
I think things would have been much more.
No, I've always rode that thin line of killing people and not killing people. That would have crossed the line.
It was just almost, you know, almost a ripping contest, you know, who could rip each other the worst, or, you know, talk shit to and get the best insult in on whoever.
We were disgruntled fucking punks, and that was just part of our fucking nature.
But man, it was brutal back then.
I guess in a lot of ways we just came to kind of accept it as normal.
We all came to blows with each other at one point in time. It was a big brawling brotherhood.
It wasn't really a lot of bad. It was a lot of fun, I thought. We, you know, even I had fun, so certainly they must have been having fun.
I think we grew a lot in that van together. I mean, we all came to the realization that, you know, this wasn't going to be a cakewalk. This was going to be something we actually had to work at.
And in a lot of ways, Phill was the father figure. You know, there was like the Sean and Perry side and the me and Deen side, and he kind of bridged the gap and kept things going. And, you know, to a large degree, I pretty much credit Phill as being the leader of that band. You know, Perry and Sean definitely had probably more say, but I think in the long run, Phill definitely had the leadership quality.
Leaving. Hey, your sound sucks! It sucks! Okay, get the bum. Hey, Mr. Bum! Hey, Bum! Hey, Bum!
Their performances opening for Testament and label mates Voivod earned them scores of new fans across America.
We just threw our stuff up on stage and we just go for it. And I think people respected that. You know, we didn't really, no thrills, no big lights, you know. Just threw it down and jammed. And the response was good. I remember thinking it was great.
The crowds were all totally receptive to the tour. I mean, everywhere we played was packed and people were just totally into us. Packed.
I'm gonna dead, but the rulers are bad. Rising up the single hell, I'm waiting for you. The words will come to a turn. Good, is he good? Sentries are screaming, entertainers weaving. Chasing with and killing off a reason alone. Look at the size of the blows. Good, is he good?
All those guys had a real good kind of fan rapport type thing. I mean, Sean grew into being a really good, strong front man.
In your face, just super in your face, man. I loved it. I thought it was awesome, you know, just riling people up, and he did, man. He was one of the most vicious frontmen ever to come out of the Bay Area thrash scene, period. You know, he smoked a lot of better-known singers.
I would rank Sean #1. Out of all the Bay Area thrash metal vocalists that came out of this area, I would clearly rank him #1.
This power strike from my arm is what the world is running on. So hide your head or join the dead. A place you are will soon be there.
When Sean comes out, that's when everyone like starts to freak out because they know that the shit's about to hit the fan.
When Sean Killian gets on stage, he's like Charles Manson on PCP.
I felt like I needed to be in your face and grabbing you and stage diving on top of your head and John wanted to make sure that the fans felt like they were part of what was going on too.
Oh, I think he gets the fans really riled up and gets them going, makes them want to get in that pit and mosh, makes them want to get crazy and let out their aggression and just thrash.
And I mean, in fucking A, you take a guy like Sean Killian, any guy that can make a turtleneck look fucking cool, I mean, you got to remember, that's a huge mountain to fucking climb.
The type of fans that we drew were, you know, you either loved us or you hated us. There was no in between whatsoever. Sean's vocals was always kind of like the, you know, it would tip things. You know, some people would be like, yeah, the guitars were cool, but, you know, Sean. But the people who love Sean, man, they just fucking worshipped every second of every lyric, of every vocal, of, you know, and on stage too.
Definitely not a vocal style that you're going to be indifferent about.
That was the good thing about Vio-Lence. That's what made Vio-Lence unique on their own sounds.
I couldn't imagine anybody else singing in that band.
Obviously, the mainstream couldn't grasp onto that. It wasn't mainstream friendly.
Vio-Lence fans are probably one of the most fanatical metal fans that you'll ever run across.
Someone just a little off the mark, a little, just not altogether there in the head.
Hey, we're nuts, absolutely nuts, obnoxious, crazy.
Everybody knows when everybody says Slayer, right? Slayer, yeah, everyone gets all wild and crazy. Well, Vio-Lence is right there.
Vio-Lence! 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 Yeah! Yeah, fucking Vio-Lence! 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 Vio-Lence fucking rules! Vio-Lence rocks! Fucking Vio-Lence, man! Yeah! Yeah!
Makes you want to fucking get down to the earth and fucking rumble, man. They're fucking intense. There's nothing like them. There's nothing like them. They're fucking rock.
We had so many just great experiences on the road with them. You know, they were just fucking always down to just kill everyone in the pit, and they were often friendly enough to, you know, bring us cases of beer and, you know, speed, and, you know, just like you'd come into town and just like, you know, 10 dudes would walk up to the van and be like, hey, drugs, speed, fuck this, that, you know, have my girlfriend, you know, hey.
I had a girlfriend every time I was on tour. I didn't get any.
Yeah? How much pussy did you get, Sean?
I didn't say a thing. All kinds. He slept with Perry every night.
Is that right?
There's some dedicated female fans, yeah, that like Vio-Lence, definitely.
Those are spectacular!
They're my all-time world's favorite band. Phill, you're so sexy. Vio-Lence rules. I love Vio-Lence this much.
Hey, and Phill, the Raiders suck.
I've gotten beat up many times being stupid enough to go into a pit at a Vio-Lence show, always coming back, you know, kind of bloody, black and blue, and I've always had a fun time every time.
Live, 1989, Hayward Civic Center. Alexis.
The cops are just wailing on each other with fucking batons as well. Basically, this is what happens when you turn Vio-Lence off. Oh, look at that!
we played the Centennial Hall, and I remember there was like, I don't really remember why, but I remember there was just like all this drama between like us and Death Angel or DA. They had changed their name to DA at that point, and
they played a blistering set. It was a fun night, but then we came on next and played maybe like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and the cops came.
Their manager at the time, this French guy, was just a piece of shit.
Nobody really liked him. He, you know, everybody thought he was an asshole. So Sean, who was always one to speak his mind, he said something about him being an asshole on stage, and so it caused all kinds of shit between the bands. So I guess they got their amps and shit unplugged during their sets, and then everybody freaked out in the crowd and went and trashed the bathroom.
we practically wanted to fucking incite a riot.
Right as we were done, I went outside and there had to have been 50 cops out there, like riot gear, the whole works, up in the parking lot, basically getting ready to like just march into this place.
And the next thing you know, like, dude, there's a riot out here. We go out and it's just like a wall of police. Just a wall of police. My memory of this is just a wall of police, arms length. And it was like a Bugs Bunny cartoon, literally, just like tear gas and chairs and people and fucking paper and just.
Had they not just let the thing kind of wrap up and go its way, that would have been that. And instead, there ended up being a whole lot of damage. There ended up being cops that got bapped in the head with bottles. There was chairs flying. You know, I'm actually really happy to this day that no one like got killed.
Man, they just make it, man, because they're
getting
fucking
more
aggressive.
intense.
Yeah, exactly.
The live
They're
shows
just fucking
get pumped,
insane.
You know, our live show and the fans at our crowd, it's like they bring the performance out of us. You know, they up there singing the words and going nuts. They've always been the driving force behind what, you know, made us tick and what motivated us.
I shed no tears for the buried ones, the ones I later rap. Don't ever question why I do, just so I do my best.
I mean, I've had teeth busted out of my fucking mouth, landed on my head from, you know, being on top of people in the pit. Sometimes can't even move the next day.
$1 million paycheck, I pull the trigger, bloodshed, the bullet rips to your head. I do so many times before, I watch your body take the floor, always eating what pay more. I just looked at so many times, one thing running through my mind. Money, 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 money. So the follow me, pull on you, tell you what you gotta do. Jams gonna make my job easier.
In the middle of one of our songs, these people started fist fighting right in the pit, I mean right in front of us, and it was like if we stopped playing, the fight would probably stop. But we just kept playing the song, and it was almost as though you could feel the energy from us and our attitudes, and the music was driving these two dudes to beat the shit out of each other. And sure enough, as soon as the song stopped, they stopped fighting.
That was good for us. We actually thought that was cool.
That's what they go there for. You know, that's what the whole trip. We're not, you know, very mad alone. You know, I don't want anybody to fall in love, you know, while I'm playing.
You know, we played a show at the Palace in L.A. and it got really ugly that night.
Where a kid got taken outside. He was probably about 110, 115, by a bouncer who had him by his shoulders, right? Took him outside and like a towel, like, you know, did this and dropped him face first on the cement. That's the sad thing. They pay so much money to see the show, and there's some jerk who's pounding on him like, you know, there's some kind of fucking punching guy.
It's not something that's straight up either. I mean, it's like, you know, some guy that weighs about 320 versus some 12-year-old weighs about maybe 95, 110.
After a while, being signed to Mechanic had not been the kind of experience Vio-Lence was hoping for.
When we finished writing we had the whole album written for pressing the masses. We submitted it to Mechanic Records, and then About a week, maybe 2 weeks later, I get a phone call, and it's Steve Sinclair calling me from New York, wanting to talk about the lyrics and what his take of the band is.
He started coming up with crazy ideas, you know, hey, we'll picture you guys in silver tuxedos.
Oh, that's right, I forget. Yeah, the silver tuxedos.
You know, but we were like, nah, I'm not putting on no suit, man. You know, forget about it.
We'll put you on tour with Run DMC, because Sean kind of raps in that one part in Bodies on Bodies, you know, gasoline injection into the vein, or what?
There was a few things that I want to adjust. You know, people today like to hear grammatically correct lyrics, you know, like where they can really hear and understand every word. So I just kind of rewrote some stuff into your lyrics. I mean, I hope you don't mind, you know. Well, you know, that's a stupid thing to say. Of course I mind. Anyone that writes would mind someone else messing with their shit. That was the downfall of that whole relationship right there. It really sucked on his part because he didn't sign us as a band that writes popular music. He signed us as a thrash, you know, raw thrash metal band. It didn't cost a whole lot of money to record our albums.
We won it off of Mechanic. We got our release from him.
So from there, we kind of made new friends.
Not long after their release from Mechanic, another of Debbie Abono's acquaintances would express interest in signing the band.
I was really a good friend with Maria, who was the publicist for Johnny Z and Megaforce. And so Maria loved the band.
Now signed to Megaforce Records, preparing to record the follow-up to Eternal Nightmare, this change would welcome new opportunities from working with veteran producers to the changing dynamics in songwriting.
Recorded the album, Alex Perry Alice in upstate New York.
Alex was the best.
Probably the best experience in the studio I ever had, and you know, working with Alex Perry Alice was just super great. And I remember going in there, and Wacka was the engineer, and he's the drummer for Raven.
And I think just having the opportunity to record with Alex was, you know, huge at that time, because Alex at that time was the master.
You know, we walk into his lobby and there's Overkill records, you know, the Anthrax records, the SOD.
Fuck yeah, we were just like, you know, the dude who produced the SOD record, you know, like we just, and at that time, that was just the sickest guitar tone I had ever fucking heard in my life, and I was just like, dude, that's what we need to have. So it was just constantly, you know, I just brought the SOD record and we constantly A-B'd to that record. Like, it doesn't sound close enough to SOD, dude, so.
We're just going, all right, you know, this is where metal is happening. We're gonna be a part of this.
I guess you could say we're on top of the world for what we were doing, you know. Piddly garage metal band, and now we're, you know, having the chance to record with, you know, producers that, you know, are well known and, you know, got a little bit of a budget to record with.
As a young musician and as you record, you know, your stuff doesn't always sound, you know, real good. And you go in the studio and all of a sudden you hear it just sounding incredible and everything else sounds good, and you just go, wow, all of a sudden it just goes from being kind of heavy to like super heavy, you know. And from there, you know, that's kind of inspiring, and you're totally motivated to just work the project and everybody's putting 120% in all the time.
Demmel welcomed Robb Flynn's writing style and contributions. This was never more apparent than on the second Vio-Lence release, Oppressing the Masses.
I know there was a lot more collaboration on the second album between Phill and Robb, and that just stepped it up a notch.
Oppressing the Masses is the album that differs from Eternal Nightmare to the fact that we assembled the songs as a band. Phill and Robb wrote a lot of the riffs, came in with them, and we would all interject our, is that what I want to say?
Help us out here.
Interject our ideas into it. You know, saying, well,
I'll just smack you.
You know, we'll like have discussions. Well, I want it to go slow here. I want it to go fast there.
I really thought on Oppressing the Masses is when you really had the Flynn Demmel guitar deal really take shape, you know, and I thought they were up there with the fucking H-Team of Exodus, you know, the Altus Pierces of the Heathens, you know, the Hanneman and the Kings of the Slayers. I really felt that they were up there.
Well, the title of the album, it was the title of a song first, but we felt that the album was, in every song, somehow, some way, there was someone being oppressed or something being oppressed, so that's how the title came about. We decided, well, that's cool. And, you know, like a song like Liquid Courage is down to, like, in the family's home where the alcoholic fucking beats his family up and shit, to, like, oppressing the masses where they control the whole country and they beat them just in different ways.
I think oppressing the masses is probably by far, hands down, the best thing we ever did, all the way around.
What you're about to see is a documented beer run. Your driver,
beer run.
Perry Strickland. Navigator, Phill. Slave to my dick. On camera.
So it was funny because we had 2 hotel rooms, but there was only 1 remote control.
Our bathrooms were joined, so the same medicine cabinet was, you know, the back of the metal medicine cabinets joined together, and
they had the remote in their room, and me and Perry wanted the remote.
We are not actors. This is
And please,
real.
do not try this at home. This is real.
you know, Perry would bang, hey, give me the cable box, you know, 3 in the morning. Come on, I want it.
And took his sticks and went over there and started beating on this friggin' medicine chest because it would totally resonate through their room.
This is what we do with our PDs, spend it on alcohol. There we go.
Robb was just pissed.
That was the last straw. That was the day that everything changed.
And he had that look, and he had the cable box, and he's pounding on the door. Let me in, motherfuckers! Here's your fucking cable box. And Perry's all peeking out the curtain. No, go away! Don't want it now. I ain't letting you in here, motherfucker.
It's a little bit more controlled of an album, but it's still just as brutal.
We had a free day. I think they were setting up the mix, so we were going to go hiking, checking out the stuff, and there was a frozen waterfall.
I remember Perry being at the store and saying, well, maybe we should buy some rope just in case something bad happens.
We're all laughing at him. Yeah, we're not spending our $20 per diem on friggin' rope. So we're hiking up this trail, and it's all ice, and friggin' Perry slips off the trail down this little, about a 10-foot hillside and lands on top of the frozen river. And water's flowing underneath the ice. We're all Perry, we're just fucking rope.
Hey, Deen, I'll make soup out of my underwear. You can drink it.
There's a
Get
fight.
the 2 dares.
My full dinner.
My 2 dares.
What? Sean! Robb Flynn! I have the second wife of the Dare Mud. Zoom in. Just the mirror.
Get the fuck out of here!
No. Is that off the wall of your
Robb Flynn?
Joey's departure from management marked the beginning of things to come, both good and bad.
Joey was going to school full time, man. I mean, Joey's a straight A student, and you know, was just hitting the books hard. And I think he was being forced to take on a lot of responsibilities that we weren't able to pay him for. And I think that it took away from his time in college. And so for that reason, I think we separated ways.
This next song we're gonna play, nobody wanted you to hear. It was too offensive.
When that album came out, it was all this, the Torture Tactics being stripped off the label, controversy was going on still.
Submitted the lyrics to Megaforce. They took them to Atlantic, who was distributing them at the time, and everything was cool. We thought that we were golden with everything.
Heavy metal bands were being censored. Of course, they were too chicken shit to go after the rap bands at that time because, you know, the whole rap thing.
Some big wig had heard him, you know, right when everything was pressed, and we had 20,000 albums already ready going to the stores, and gotta pull the song.
And then the next day went and signed 2 Live Crew, you know, which, you know, they don't have explicit lyrics at all. You know, they're pretty mellow people.
They needed everything that they were promised. They were really behind that song. That meant a great deal to them, and to have it pulled without ever really having a lot of, it's wrong. It's just wrong.
Like, we were just livid, dude. I mean, just incredulous, like flipping mad, because they didn't even, you know, they didn't even ask us. They just basically told us. Yeah, they just told us they were doing it.
It was like we were at war with our record label. It's like, what the hell are we doing?
So at that point, we printed up shirts that fucking basically said "fuck Atlantic" and 20,000 records destroyed and censored and all this shit. We went fucking way anti.
Controversy seems to follow us wherever we go. We're going to be one of those bands where it's always going to be there. I mean, and we love it.
You gotta love a band that writes lyrics about old girlfriends, gutter slut, cripples, you know, fucking paraplegic.
You get a thought about what I want to write about, and then try to put myself in the place of that person or being or whatever, and then right from the other side of the story is much, you know, just try to mix it up.
You know, no families, no funerals, no rosaries for slain on this hillside in my silent grave. That's a classic line. Only Killian can come up with something like that. That's a sick fucking line.
You know, he would definitely spend the time. I mean, he would go out and get documentaries, and he would read, and he would, you know, he would put some thought into it. It was kind of telling stuff like it is, with, you know, bodies on bodies, kill on command. I mean, you know, name your song. I mean, a lot of those things had lyrics that, even by today's standards, were pretty rough. I mean, censorship was an issue that came up on more than one occasion, for sure.
Thinking in a short-sighted frame of mind on top of the arrogance of youth, Vio-Lence began to make several of many irrational decisions.
They decided to fire me, which was, they called collect. That kind of bothered me. But
we're looking at other bands and looking at Testament and looking at some of the other bands, and we're going, man, we want to be doing that. We want the tour bus, you know, and we want this, and we want that, and we want it now, Daddy, you know.
Firing Debbie, I don't think was our greatest move, actually, at that point in time.
And so if that's what they wanted, then okay, you know, I felt that that was fair, it was right. You know, after I got over the big crush, you know, no, but it was good, yeah.
It was a bummer, man. It sucked, and even then, it felt wrong, and it was the wrong thing to do.
That was the biggest mistake we ever made, was cutting loose Debbie Abono. And we paid for that big time later on.
if we didn't fire Debbie at that point in time, there would have been a great chance that we would have got overseas to Europe and maybe did a little more than we actually ever ended up doing.
Their decision to fire Debbie was not well received by Megaforce.
She was a big part of us get signed to that label.
That was the turning point. Debbie was well loved in the industry. You know, she had so many friends, and we were the brats that fired her, you know.
And what happened is, unfortunately, the label that they were with were really good friends of mine. So I got phone calls from the label, and they were upset, very upset, you know. How dare they, you know, kind of thing.
With both Joey and Debbie out of the picture, Vio-Lence hired a fast-talking Hollywood hotshot who promised the band bigger and better things to come.
We ended up getting this fucking cock.
Oh my God.
His brother was managing Cheap Trick, and so, you know, we thought, you know, all right, well, you know, how bad can it be, right?
He had like a cell phone, you know, one of those big old cell phones from back in the day, like, yeah, I'm talking to Juan Krauser from Rat, and blah, 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 blah. And we'd grab his phone and be like, no one on the phone, like dialed it. We're like, you're not, what the fuck, dude?
Even with the issues we had with the label, it was like still they were, you know, we didn't believe they were going to do a video, and the label picked the song, like they were kind of like, we want you to do World in a World, and we want you to record this, we're going to record this video for MTV. We were totally stoked.
We got on Headbangers Ball. They showed it like 2 or 3 times, and of course we thought it should have been on every week, and we should have been down there, you know, hosting the thing. And
With Oppressing the Masses now on the shelves and available in music stores, Vio-Lence went on the road to support the record with fellow Bay Area thrash band Defiance.
We did a headlining tour. We couldn't get on anything support, so we got our first tour bus, and we were stoked about that. And we're headlining. We're doing okay in some markets, you know.
That was my most rock and roll right there.
Despite the excitement of being the young headliners, the tour itself wasn't getting off to a good start.
We get halfway through our tour, and yeah, Andy Summers has dropped you guys. You know, you're no longer on their booking agency. It's like, okay, here we go. The repercussions of firing Debbie are all kicking in.
You know, and I certainly wished it had never happened for them. I really do, because I think they had a lot of potential.
And things would only get worse.
So we come back home, we're going to do another little headlining tour, and we're going to start in Florida and come back and hit the markets we didn't on the first leg.
So he sets us up on this tour. Oh yeah, this tour is gonna be huge. You know, you're gonna go out with Alien Sex Fiend, and you know, we're like, who? You know, like Alien Sex Fiend? Like, what the fuck are we doing touring with, you know, them?
He had no clue what he was doing.
He calls up on the night of the 16th, which is the day before we're supposed to leave, and goes, oh my God, I got the dates wrong. The first show of the tour is on the 20th. So you got 3 days to get to Florida from California in a Winnipeg. We're like, what? Oh, dude, you know, like, this is, you know, not information that we should be hearing now. Perry won't drive, and, you know, Sean won't drive. You know, so we get there, you know, we're fucking exhausted. You know, well, Perry and Sean were rested, but, you know, the 3 of us are exhausted. You know, Alien Sex Fiend are like from planet fucking Nebula. And, you know, we go in, and their whole crowd's sitting there. There's like 200 people in the place, and the whole crowd is sitting Indian style on the ground, like as we go on stage. They're all goth kids, you know, dressed in black, and they're all, you know, checking us out. We're like, you know, we start open with, you know, fucking High Prophet, you know, big old fucking super heavy metal, and everybody just stays there, like just sitting Indian style on the fucking floor. And that was like the first big clue of what was to come from this tour.
No draw. Our fans didn't even know we were in town, so There was no promotion, there was no nothing.
You know, the motorhome breaks down because we just rode it right. The engine had melted or something ridiculous had happened. You know, we show up in this club, it's totally closed. We thought we're playing this night, and it had been closed down. And
there's no one there, like not a light is on, like on the boardwalk. We're like, what the fuck? Man, fucking no one likes us in this town, huh? You know, like fucking, we pull up and there's a security guard, like, you know, we're driving around. He's like, what the hell are you guys doing here? We're like, we're supposed to be playing this club called the fucking so-and-so. And he's like, oh, that club closed down 2 weeks ago. Exodus closed it down. We were like, hey, information we could have used.
It was bad, it was ugly.
The tour is going terrible. We're in rent-a-cars, no Winnebago. Our managers essentially cut off all contact. We've nicknamed the tour the Disaster Tour at this point.
With so many problems derailing the second leg of their American tour in support of oppressing the masses, Vio-Lence themselves, unable to possess reliable management, canceled their tour and returned home.
I think we still all believed in the band. We all wanted to make it happen because it worked at home, you know. Every time we played at home, we sold out. You know, it didn't take much advertisement. And so we figured if it worked at home, then we could probably, if we could just figure out a way, make it work everywhere else. But we just, you know, it just didn't happen that way.
Back in San Francisco, Vio-Lence once again acquired new management from another mutual friend who already had several thrash bands under his arm.
You know, they came to me and asked me to kind of sort it out and try to get them back on their feet.
I mean, Alexis had been a friend of us, and it was more professional and more structured and more together.
You know, I was pretty excited about it. I was managing Mordred at the time. I had previously been managing Legacy, which later became Testament.
With the setbacks behind them and new management on board, the band's resolve to succeed was stronger than ever.
I think we really wanted to still push a pressing, you know, and we just didn't have support or the financial means to do so.
Megaforce we were writing songs for the next album. They said, okay, well, you guys have toured enough. It's like, oh, whatever, a couple weeks. You know, headlining, haven't supported nobody, so well, this thing is pretty much dead. It's time to start writing the next album, refocus, you know, regenerate. We start writing songs.
91 was coming to be the end of really the Bay Area thrash scene being on the pulse. And then Nirvana came out, the whole Seattle scene started exploding, and things were changing very quickly. All the bands out of the Bay Area were having a hard time at that point.
It's decided to go kind of a more polished album, a little more marketable, a little more commercial.
Everybody was doing that, you know, so it was like, yeah, go for the Black Album, it's selling 10 million. So, so there was definitely, like, you know, some pressure from the label to kind of take the band in that kind of a direction.
They started telling us, well, what if we did this with this chorus here and this verse here, and we're just like, whoa, you know, record label, you know, artist, you know, we write the songs, you do your job or whatever. And
you know, and I remember Rob actually going, what the hell kind of crap is that?
I think, you know, what Vio-Lence is and what we're good at is being a thrash band.
Why did you choose the album title Nothing to Gain? Was that directed towards your record company?
Basically, it's just towards the record industry in general.
We did make some compromises, though, and you know, we tried to appease him, as you know, we did want to have a record come out, and you know, he was funding a thing, so.
With new material ready to record, Vio-Lence entered the studio, but much to their dismay, it was without the highly favored producer, Alex Perialis.
I knew Alexis, their manager, and I had done Forbidden, Testament, Sadist, Vicious Rumors, Mordred, all those guys. So I was kind of doing a lot of the metal bands from that period.
I actually didn't really work well with Michael Rosen. And, you know, I don't know why, whether maybe I was stubborn or, you know, he you know, we just didn't hit it off.
I mean, I liked all the guys. Perry and I didn't. Perry, in particular, really wanted to work with Alex Perialis. And we just kind of, you know, right from the jump, man.
There was a lot of tension, and there was a lot of back and forth and snapping.
It was like a 30-day argument, literally.
There were some really, really heated things going on in the control room about playing and how things should be played and how things should be done.
And we lost it as a band before we ever went into the studio, as far as, you know, our identity and who we really were, and we were trying to be something that we weren't.
I think Rosen just kind of went, whoa, you know, WWF, You know, we're supposed to be a band, you know.
It was a little rough. And then to make it worse was that Sean was trying to sing, and I think it was really frustrating for him because Sean had a trip. He was, you know, I always said it was like the devil coming out of your asshole. Like listening to him sing, it was just like this railing, and they wanted him to sing, and he wasn't a singer.
I think Michael could probably record that album better today. I think it was just a lot of, there was just too much other things other than music that were going on in there.
Unfortunately, it's not one of my better records when I look back.
After a grueling month recording in the studio, Vio-Lence had completed work on the long-awaited follow-up to Oppressing the Masses called Nothing to Gain.
To me, it didn't have that kind of raw feel that Vio-Lence always had.
We should have been a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more in your face through the recordings than we were.
We recorded Nothing to Gain, submitted it to Megaforce. They, him and Hod, they lost their distribution through Atlantic, so we were stuck. You know, we were a band with a label with no distribution, and the label they shelved the album for a good year.
I mean, I don't know how those guys were, but I was fucking furious. I was just like, you know, we gave into all these concessions to this fucking blowhard, and then he doesn't like them. You know, it's like he asked for these fucking concessions, you know. It's like he asked for these lyrics, he asked for this ending, he asked for this, and then he's like, well, okay, I don't want it.
And I think it took us about a year just to have them cut us loose finally and just let us walk with the album.
We had lost Alexis, you know, things had pretty much run their course with him.
None of us were businessmen. None of us knew anything about the record business or record labels or anything. You know, I had no clue. You know, we're just naive guys making music, and we knew how to do that. But outside of that, we were lost.
Needless to say, it had been a very tumultuous period for the band. Yet one of the more unsettling and controversial upheavals was yet to come.
The shows started getting kind of like smaller and smaller.
We would sell the Stone and Omni out back-to-back nights, and all our shows were always sold out, and now we were just, you know, kind of filling the Stone.
You know, you can kind of see that there was the beginning of a downhill slope.
To the astounding shock of fans and the band themselves, Robb Flynn abruptly quit Vio-Lence, marking the end of a significant era in the band's history and forever altering the band's chemistry.
Couldn't find a buyer or taker for the album. And Robb was just the kind of guy that, hey man, you know, I need to be playing my guitar, I need to be doing something fresh, and it was just stale.
I know the nail in the coffin for me wasn't necessarily just that we weren't having any luck getting signed, but it was when we went into Write Again. It's like all the Johnny Z shit had kind of taken its toll, and everybody was like, we really need to try and write like more melodic stuff and more like, you know, grunge was popular, and, you know, try and do this. And
I remember coming to practice saying, hey, you know, I'm going to be doing this thing, and it's going to be a little bit different than what we're doing, you know, faster, slower, heavier, whatever. And is it cool if I do it, or do them both, or whatever? And we were kind of like, no. You know, and he's all right then, late. And he bolted.
And I was like, fine, I quit.
Robb leaving the band was a rough time for Vio-Lence.
I mean, we were all pretty unhappy. I don't blame Robb for doing what he wanted. You know, that's what he wanted to do.
You know, he got along with all his friends. There wasn't a conflict with his friends, you know, and making music. And when you're making music, there shouldn't be any conflicts.
The audition process to replace Robb was difficult, time-consuming, and very tedious. The band felt replacing Robb was seemingly next to impossible.
We were still like, you know, not gonna let it die. You know, if people were still gonna show up to the shows and still enjoyed it, then we were just gonna keep going.
After a long search, Vio-Lence had recruited Ray Vegas, a veteran of the scene, to fill the vacant guitar slot.
And I was kind of skeptical at first because it's, you know, a different type of music. It's a lot more technical and stuff, and I didn't think I could really handle it. But they gave me a shot. You know, I came in and I worked really hard.
Ray Vegas, shit. Ray's godlike. I knew Ray from the scene from day one.
I never really put myself in the same category as Robb. Like I said, he was a really, really, really good guitar player. I always considered myself average. I always wanted to be in good bands and not be like a great guitar player. So it was hard. It was stressful, and I didn't know how fans were going to react to some punk, you know, replacing a vital member of the band.
We never toured for nothing to gain at all. We'd play here and there and everywhere, but there was never a tour.
Despite the fresh energy that Ray Vegas had brought to the band, the drama that overshadowed the release of Oppressing took a toll on everyone, especially Perry Strickland.
In '90, I'd gone out with Exodus, did the Headbangers Ball tour, and toured with them for like a month. And you know, this was huge arena tour, you know, and first MTV sponsored Headbangers Ball tour. You know, I'd had a little taste of what it could really be about, you know.
He was just kind of, he was fed up as well, you know. Robb had quit, things were kind of on the downslope.
I think once I started measuring one to the other, started looking at it as just a long uphill struggle that, you know, I had to, you know, put my time and effort into something else.
Well, when Perry left, it was devastating.
Perry leaving the band was depressing.
I didn't think the band could survive two main band members leaving. You know, Perry was the backbone of the band. His drumming style was different. You know, you can play a Vio-Lence song and you can tell it was Vio-Lence by the drums.
Perry's replacement was drummer Mark Hernandez.
Even with all the turmoil and stuff, I still had high hopes for the band, and I thought everybody did. Even when the chips were down, we still wrote and we still played hard, and that meant a lot to me. You could tell being in the band as one of the members that we did have hope and we saw a future for this band.
The band had preserved through a series of conflicts, lineup changes, and other negative events, and unfortunately, the worst was on the horizon.
Sean had come to the band and said, hey, you know, I'm going to marry this girl, and I'm quitting the band.
How do you replace Sean Killian?
He was basically irreplaceable. We couldn't replace him and be Vio-Lence. I mean, there's no two ways about it.
The last Vio-Lence show was at Wolfgang's in San Francisco.
We bid Sean farewell.
Played and walked away.
Once Vio-Lence disbanded, the members went their separate ways, concentrating on different projects. In the 8 years of silence that followed, and to the discontent of many a fan, it seemed as though the Bay Area would never hear from Vio-Lence ever again. However, in the summer of 2001, the unexpected happened. There was a tremor of activity in the quiet fault line of the Vio-Lence camp. The band were asked to participate in a benefit called Thrash of the Titans.
We practiced, I think, for a month, and we practiced hard, and we were practicing serious because we wanted, you know, nobody had seen us for 9 or 10 years, and we wanted to come out and make an impact.
I remember even enjoying practicing at that point in time. You know, got back into the studio and playing, and it was actually fun.
There's still something in those early songs that, you know, they just conjure something up inside of me.
So we're in the dressing room warming up and stuff, and then it was our time to go on, and it was like my first show all over again. Nerves, my palms were sweating. I knew it was going to be a good show, but I was nervous.
Like a phoenix rising from the ashes and blazing a trail into the sky, Vio-Lence was reborn.
But they were fucking kick-ass. They came out and they fucking pretty much blew everyone away.
The moment they hit the stage at Thrash of the Titans, Demmel with his arms raised out, just like, yeah, guys, we're back, we're here, we're gonna kick ass, and we haven't even played one fucking note yet.
Yeah, they were definitely the best band on that bill.
They did steal the show. They did steal the show. Everybody was there to see Vio-Lence, and there was no denying that.
They destroyed that thing. It's a good showing.
For me personally, and I know a lot of people that I talked to, they were the best band that night. They came out so well prepared, and they just smoked. It was like the best live performance at Thrash of the Titans, bar none. If I had to give one band that's what they did. They just tore it up at Thrash of the Titans, and that just shows you they could come out nowadays and still have a huge impact on thrash metal.
Vio-Lence had, in their 50-minute set, reclaimed the greatness which was long preserved as legends in Bay Area thrash metal history.
We were able to be seen in front of the whole crowd, and it was just exhilarating. It was awesome that we got such a reception from 2,000 and something people.
I think that was probably one of our better shows.
I just went nuts that night, man. I just, I couldn't help myself.
Their blistering and flawless performance stirred the mosh pits to an uncontrollable ferocity. The crowd remained captivated and mesmerized by the brutality of Vio-Lence's first set in nearly a decade.
I just wish they'd get back together so we can do another show, because I owe Perry Strickland one. Because you've seen on the Tales from the Pit the Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns photo of me and him. But the Exodus was not at its peak back then because we were pharmaceutically challenged, and they had a great show that night.
We had a chemical imbalance.
I want him to come out of retirement, sucker.
The energy that once fueled Vio-Lence's rise to the top was now resurging their future.
Well, after we played the Thrash of the Titan show, and it was we had such a great reception from the crowd that we kind of talked and said, well, I don't know that I want to be a touring band or go out and restart this thing, but this is great, and I think we should do this some more, and let's see what we can get out of this. Let's go book a show and see what happens.
Trouble would come up with Ray, some stuff to where he couldn't, he wasn't going to perform, and so we had Stevie Schmidt play guitar.
I was just like, we got problems with Ray, he's not going to be able to do the show, so can you do it? I said, sure.
He's in a local band called Lava Bone. He was in some other local bands. Really good kid, stepped up and learned the songs.
Dream come true, play with one of the bands I love from the thrash scene,
Like a suffering Christ, like a fleeting love is tied, blinded to misery, glowing of the eyes. Like running blood, like running sight, like warriors,
opportunity came for me to kind of make some amends with somebody. So it's like, man, we need a guitar player. And so I called up Troy.
And it was kind of funny because I hadn't played the guitar in a few years. And so I dug it out and grabbed the old demo and a couple of the Vio-Lence albums and started to work.
And that it was just fitting, you know, for him to come back and be able to be a part of it again.
It was definitely a rush.
And we decided to get some cameras and record it, you know, record it for maybe a live album or a DVD or something like that.
It was amazing because the whole time, you know, you're like, well, man, is anyone going to show up? Or was that just like people that were there excited because it was a whole big thing at Thrash of the Titans? You know, what's going to happen with...
We fucking sell the place out, man. It's overpacked, oversold, just packed to the gills. Just an amazing show.
On the heels of a triumphant comeback, Vio-Lence were charting course with a return to the thrash scene. Some would say when the scene needed them most. A short West Coast tour opening up for Testament and Halford started things moving right along.
We got that taste back of going out and playing some shows on the road. Phill and I talked to him, and I told him, you know, I can't do a full-scale band on tour deal, so, but I am down for writing some new music, so.
Consistent with much of their history, as the band were gaining momentum once again, shocking news determined their fate, as guitarist Phill Demmel left to join Machine Head.
The intention was to, I was going to write the album, but I mean, the guys in the band, all of them have kids, except for Deen. And they didn't have the time. I want to be a musician. I have the opportunity to do it now. And is it going to be with Vio-Lence? I would love for it to be, but all of them said, hey.
But assured him that it was nothing that bothered me in the least bit, and I was happy for the both of them that, you know, they'd be able to play music again together.
It's kind of full circle in a way, man. You know, it's awesome having them in the band. I can say that. You know, it's fun and the chemistry's there.
This latest move would prove to be the final chapter in the Vio-Lence saga, but not before a final performance in front of the loyal hometown fans. And 2 new songs, Fuck Peace and The Section of Christ, to round out this sold-out once-in-a-lifetime event.
We had this 420 show set up at the Pound.
We wanted to do one more show where it was Vio-Lence as the headliner, and you could say this is it, we're leaving. We came back, it was fun.
Phill came up and he said something about Robb was gonna join us.
We'll go, you know, triple axe attack, Leonard Skinner style.
Playing that last show and having Robb join us and stuff was just kind of the icing on the cake of, you know, that small return that we had.
We sucked because we were so hammered, but people didn't care.
Seek to understand the time for there is war! girlfriend, your wife, your mother. Let's call God or a slut.
To end it on that good of a note and on that good of a high, you know, I'm glad that we came back, you know, all that time later and could just bring some closure to it with a hug instead of a fucking slam down phone.
From eternal nightmare, to oppressing the masses, to torture tactics, and finally nothing to gain, these 4 releases will forever be burned into the minds of all that have them, played them, and lived their lives through them. We will never forget the early days and the youthful exuberance displayed by these Bay Area ragers.
I just got back from Greece. I played with DRI on bass and shit, and their name was written all over the ruins there and stuff. And I know it was that Vio-Lence because there's a dash and then, you know, logo is here and stuff. But yeah, it's amazing.
You close on with my eyes, ram my camera right up inside the bitch. So sweetly to me in the morning will you spend that? Fuck no, whore.
Here's a band, you know, 16, 17 years after the fact, people are paying $100 plus on eBay for their album.
I know they're getting rediscovered
Some
now.
people are paying $3.95, but you know, most people are paying $100.
To Sean, Phill, Perry, Dean, Troy, Rob, Ed, Jerry, and Ray, thank you for all the great shows and memories throughout the years. It has been a pleasure to still be mentally afflicted by your music.
Like I said, it was good to see them able to end it on a good note and give us fans, you know, us much older fucking fans, one last chance to feel sore from a fucking pit, and that I definitely did.
There's really no comparison between Vio-Lence and the other bands in the Bay Area. You know, Vio-Lence stands out. They're different. They'll always be different, whether they come out with another album or not. People are going to remember them, and if you were born in the Bay Area and you grew up in the 80s, you were a very lucky person, and Vio-Lence had a lot to do with that.
Good times, Vio-Lence.
They were always great, and I always will be very proud that I was involved with them at all.
It was fun. I mean, it was a part of my life that I'll always cherish.
I enjoyed it, take it for what it is, I appreciate it. It was definitely a blessing, you know, I feel very lucky, 1 in a million to have done the things I've done, but at the same time I got enough of a taste to where I was able to move on and do my family thing, which I enjoy very much. And I just would like to say thanks for that.
That was for your mama, motherfucker!
Thank you guys so much for supporting Vio-Lence and everything that we've been about, man.
Fucking A! Fucking A!
Anyway, still kick your ass.
It just take 2 of us, that's all. Life is so big, I have no wrap around my leg. And if you piss me off, I'll jack off in your face. Really? I got loads of dibs, you can suck me all night. You can swallow my children.
Here comes Peter Cottontail.
Hey, when your hat was laid on the stage, I spit in it twice.
There's a difference between spit and loogies, dude. Be my butt lover, my anal intruder. And my dick gets stuck with this call, Vio-Lence ID 86.
This is
Sean fucking Killian. And I fucked your mother.
Violence ID, take 7.
14. This is Sean fucking Killian. Oh, I'm sorry. You're not. You're Deen, dumb shit.
I don't know what you want to do, and you're listening to the way.
What were you, Sean? What were you, Rob? I'm right.
You guys are gay.
Fuck yeah! We go back, way back.
You look and stick him up his butt.
I need a reach around.
What the fuck is up with that?
I need a reach around.
There's no reach around. Don't be sticking up the butt for you. No, that's not good for me. I have no idea what he is.
Fuck all y'all.
Come over here for us.
Who's gonna chill? My turn.
We're a little drunk.
I'm very little.
I'm sorry.
I'm just a little drunk.
Thank God they have a great drummer and a great bass player. Come here. I'll do it. Oh!
When Phil's got balls across his chin, sucking the booger is his hand. Oh, feel like sucking dick, balls across his chin. Thirsty fucking balls.
No, I don't love you.